Okay, guys, we are welcome to level 2 of our character tutorial, and we're going to start from the mouth this time around and complete the whole character modeling process. So, first of all, we select this vertices here, and let's move this upwards. Select these three and move this upwards. Select this, and let's select this also and move downwards, and select this way. To have something looking like this, and we can move this upwards, come to your right view, and we can align that also. If we've done that, we can now move this forward to this point, or Z, move this backward also. So have something like this shape. What I'm going to do next is very simple. So we're going to select, hold 2, and select this loop, hold Alt to select that loop, and E to extrude, and we're going to come to our front view and scale on the Z axis alone, and scale on the Y axis, on the X axis, no, S, and let's say 1 for vector selection. Now we can just start shaping our character face, our character mouth. I'm inside the character mouth, so I'm just going to come to my right view and push this guy forward, and ensure that it's accurate like this. And so I'm going to select this now and move this forward a little bit to this point. Control arrow to add one loop cut here, and say Alt Z so you can see, and select this also, and select this and move this forward. I'm going to select this and bring this downwards. These are our character lips. We have something looking like this. We're going to come to our front view and say G twice, G twice to adjust this, G twice, and G twice. So we can now move this to this point and say G twice and move this to this point, G twice and move this to this point. So this will give us that lip mark for us. I'm going to add one more loop cut here again, so we can move this forward, move that forward. I'll also add one loop cut here, so we can decide to select this and select this and say G twice. Let's move this downward, let this be the G twice, and let's move this and let this be the lip mark. G twice, and let's move this a little bit. Let's move this downwards. So we select this and push this inwards a little bit. So we can now move all this G twice to move G twice on your keyboard to extend those vertices. You can just move this to this point, and I'll move this to this point. So just try to shape character mount very well. This is okay for now, and let's see how we can go about this. So move this backward, downward to this point. Dot Z again, and here's our character mount. Now if we select this now, so now we can create the eye socket. So let's start this first. We'll tap for object mode and we'll do shift A to bring in a sphere. Shift A. Now let's bring in the UV sphere. S to scale the UV sphere. S to scale. On your right view, select the sphere and push inwards. S to scale. The eyes are very big, and so let's just ensure this goes inside a little bit. See how we can position S to scale it a little bit again, and on our right view, let's try to position this very well. In our front view also, okay, that's okay for now. So select this face, tap for edit mode, and hold Alt to select those vertices there. I'm going to push this inside, inwards, push that inwards, select this and push inwards. Let's take it outward a little bit. Okay, like this. I don't want it to cover the eye, so let's just make it this way. This is okay now. It outward a little bit. So Alt Z. So we can select these two. Let's move that a little bit outward. So let's move this also. Push this a little bit outward also. Can leave that this way. Move this a little bit. Move this backwards a little bit. Okay, I think this is okay now. Just that space, a little bit space for it to blend. And hold Alt and select this, and 2 for edge selection. So let's look at our reference. Alt Z. Okay, in good shape. 1 for vector selection. Can move this a little bit forward. Hold Alt 2, E to extrude, and S to scale. S to scale again. So select this and let's scale this a little bit inwards. Select this back and select this S to scale. Okay, yeah, this is okay. Ensure it's looking like this. So we can bring this forward a little bit and say E to extrude, S to scale inwards. Select the eye and say S to scale again. Now we can select this. But if you watch, our eye now is now looking small, so we can say S back to scale this backwards. And let's push this inwards. And say E again to extrude. E to extrude inwards. And say slash to hide. And say E again to extrude inwards. And scale on the y-axis. Just a little bit. We have something looking like this. You can say slash again to bring back our eye. Now we say Alt Z and select, but first let's turn on our overlay. Go to geometry. So if I hide my sphere, say Alt Z, so you can see my eye sockets around that region. I click this and say Ctrl 2 in my object mode. It gives me subdivision level of 2. That is subdivision surface modifier. In your object mode, click on it and say Ctrl 2. Now right click and say shade smooth. Let's turn off our geometry overlay so you can see our character face. So our character face look very smooth. You can select this and say shade smooth. This is what it looks like, and I think this is okay for us. You can play around this, and let's hide this first and say Alt Z, say tab. If you watch now, our eye is coming from this point, so we can say extend it. You can say O on your keyboard, proportional editing, and if you scroll your mouse, you can reduce the strength. You need to select this and try and adjust this to this point. Select this and adjust this to this point. You need to follow our character reference properly. Try to adjust this and adjust this to this point. Or Z again. And this is okay. Now I can turn on my sphere. So I can move my sphere a little bit forward and see how it looks like. I can select this and say tab and cage this also. So I can hold Alt and select that loop inside. I can turn off my proportional editing by clicking O again. I can say S to scale. So there are many ways of doing that now. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just select this and delete it. Delete those vertices. Hold Alt, select this and delete this also. Hold Alt, select this and delete this also. You can delete this also for now first. And slash to bring back this UV sphere. I'm going to move this forward to this point. Ensure it's covering the eyes properly. I'm going to push to this point also a little bit. Take it backwards. I'm done with that now. Select this and say tab. Hold Alt. And I'm going to turn on my overlays and so I can see properly. Move this a little bit backwards. Just give that space backwards. And select and say tab, and now I can say E to extrude and scale, move inwards, and E to extrude, move inwards, E to extrude and move inwards. And I can scale this, S to scale. I can select this and say O and move this backwards a little bit to see that up. I can select this also, turn off proportional editing and say S to scale that inwards. If I click on slash on my keyboard, so I can now turn off this. So I can hold Alt and select this and say F to fill if I want to, and I will say K on my keyboard. Join these vertices and enter on your keyboard. Select this and select this to this and say enter on your keyboard. Say K again on your keyboard. Select this and say enter. So I have one face, one face, one face, another face. I think one face is not complete yet. I'm going to improvise also. And I can also add one face here. Just to add one face here and say K and join this to this. Come to my right view also and G twice turn off my shade smooth, come to my front view and say O on my keyboard, proportional editing, select this and move this forward just a little bit. And click on slash to bring back every other object. Into my front view now, and I'll say select this and say shift D to duplicate. Right click to release, move to this point. Right click again, mirror and X global. And just align it properly the way it should be. So we have something like this now, and almost done with our character. Now we can go back to the lips and make some few adjustments. We can turn off our overlay and see how our character lips looks like, and see how we can work on the our character lips and the nose also. Tab for edit mode or Z for wireframe mode, and turn off proportional editing, and let's shape our character nose properly. I'm going to move this to this point. We have this now for the side, and Ctrl R to add loop cut here, and move this backwards. Select this and move this backward also. Move this forward. Just ensure to follow your reference. So we have something to do to work with here. Or Z now, and we can turn off and say 3 for face selection. You can say into our front view and say B to box select, say B again to box select, and now let's just say shift H to hide, and now we can say 1 for vector selection, so we can work on our character nose properly. So let's move this back. Now let's see how it looks like. So we still have some work to work on our character nose or Z. Beginning to get it a little bit, so just few more addition and G twice, so we can move this to this point. So this is how our character nose look like. Still have some adjustments to make in here, and some little pop-up. It's looking great now, and nothing. We don't need any further changes here. So say tab and Alt H to unhide back. Shift H to hide, Y Alt H to unhide, and Control S so we can save our document. And now let's do box select for the lips.